everyone, I'm Izzy at Minerva. Today we are continuing our pattern drafting series all about how to create different types of cuffs. And today we're going to look at a really simple, really cute little flared cuff. So this is going to sit along the bottom of the sleeve, just as you can see in the picture next to me. This is a very romantic and delicate little detail that you can put right on the bottom of the sleeve. We have shown you in previous videos as well how to implement this this technique across sort of various aspects and various points of the sleeve so that you can create more of a dramatic effect. But today we're just looking for a nice little delicate cuff detail. You're going to need your standard pattern drafting tools, which are listed right next to me here, but you're also going to need to make sure that you've got your sleeve block, and that is going to be bespoke to your body shape. So the one that you're going to see in the video today is going to be my own sleeve block, which will look different to yours, but the principles that I'm going to be talking through today will apply to any sleeve block that you've got. Okay, great. So before we crack on with this, I should say what I'm wearing today, which is the Kilo wrap dress by Named Clothing. Beautiful pattern, super popular within the sewing community. We'll tag that along with the video, below the video. And I'm also wearing Minerva exclusive Tiger Paradise stretch viscose today as well. So this is a really lovely sort of lightish weight jersey, and it's really lovely for this pattern. It sort of fits it really nicely. So moving on to our sleeve block here, this is the full extent of our sleeve with the sleeve head at the top and the cuff down at the bottom, so that will sort of be sitting where we want it to at the bottom of our wrist. We just want a small cuff detail here, so we're not going to do anything really dramatic, we're just looking at the principle. So draw a line that is 6 centimetres offset from the base of the sleeve. Right, let's cut along that line now. And I'm just going to annotate this just to remind myself that I've taken 6 centimetres off the bottom of that cuff. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is we want to work out how to use this cuff and make it, instead of it being like a straight fit like this, we want to have it with a lot more volume, but the circumference around the outside of the cuff here still needs to tie in to this section here. So the width of this needs to be the same, so that it can attach onto the sleeve without any gathers or anything else. So we're going to use a little bit of maths here. So grab a calculator, and the first thing that we want to do is to measure the length that you have at the bottom of your sleeve. Now you've cut off the extra volume. So for me, that is 25.2, which means that the circumference of the circle that I'm about to draw needs to be 25.2. So what I want to work out now is the radius. So that I can then draw a nice circle on my piece of paper. So the maths for the radius is we have the circumference and we divide that by 2 times pi. So the circumference, write down whatever yours is for this, 25.2, whatever yours is. So just to take that step and break it down one more time, 25.2 divided by 2 times 3.14, which is pi, isn't it, divided by 6.28. Okay, so let's do that full calculation now. 25.2 divided by 6.28. So the radius is going to be 4.0 centimetres for me. Don't forget, for you it'll be something totally different, and that's totally fine. So what we want to do is to basically draw a circle that has a radius, for me, of 4 centimetres in total, and that is going to give us the right shaped hole and the right shaped circumference to fit onto our sleeve. So let's do that together now. Pop a dot in the middle of your piece of paper and then mark a point that is your radius. For me, it's 4 centimetres away from that dot. Now, at this point, I find it quite helpful to actually put the dot, the original centre of my circle, on at 4 and then offset to either side, 8 on that, 0 on that. And what that does is it just gives me a 4 centimetre offset from either side of the centre of my circle. For you, it will be whatever you've got written down here. And all we're going to do now to create this lovely little circle is actually just continue just to dot around 4 centimetres to either side of the centre of the circle to create a much bigger circle with a radius of 4 centimetres and a diameter of 8, with the circumference that is the exact circumference that you need for your bespoke sleeve. Once you've done that, then just fill it in with a nice, neat line. Okay, so that circle then becomes the circumference that we're going to attach onto the bottom of our sleeve. Now, we removed this extra volume and it was 6 centimetres that we removed from the sleeve. So effectively, we want to add that 6 centimetres and draw another circle that is 6 centimetres in depth away from this one. So in order to calculate the distance you need to draw your next circle, tap into your calculator, your radius, which for me is 4, and then the distance of the width that you've cut off from the bottom of your sleeve. So for me, 10 centimetres. So we're going to offset from the centre of the circle that distance. For me, 10 centimetres, for you, something different. And again, if you find it easier, you can just centre and draw those dots to either side nice and quickly. If you've got a protractor, this is a great time to put that to good use as well. Dig out your GCSE box of maths tools or borrow them from your kids. If you've not got one, this is a nice little tried and tested method, isn't it? Brilliant. Once you've dotted all of that out, let's just draw that into a nice neat circle. Excellent. So grab some tracing paper and we will add our seam allowances together now. Add your standard seam allowances to your sleeve side and to the sleeve head of 1.5 centimetres. Now at the bottom of our pattern piece, I'm just going to add a 5mm seam allowance, or half a centimetre seam allowance. The reason for this is simply that it can get quite tricky to attach on a curve to a curve, or to attach on the sleeve cuff to the sleeve itself because of the circumference of the sleeve. So to make it a little bit more simple for us, I'm just going to reduce the seam allowance so we've got less tension as we put the two bits together. So likewise with our flared cuff on the inside here, we're just going to add 5mm seam allowance. So again, you can do this whole little dot method all the way around. Give us a nice accurate measurement. Once you've dotted it in, just draw in your seam allowance. Okay, and then the same to the outside. We can add a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance to the outside. It's less detrimental in terms of fit on the outside. And let's just draw that nice circle in. So for this pattern piece, we've just said the grain line follows the direction of the sleeve as it hangs on us. A flared cuff, sleeve cut 2. For this one, it really doesn't matter where the grain line is because it's a full circle. So we're just annotating this to say we're going to cut 4. The reason we're going to cut 4 is simply because we want one on the outside, one on the inside for both sleeves. So basically like a little lining on the inside. So when it hangs open, you can see the nice fabric rather than the wrong side of the fabric. Great, cut those pattern pieces out and then we will cut them out of fabric and sew it together. Lovely, okay, so we've got our flared cuff right here and we've got 2 pieces of the cuff with the right side together. All I'm going to do is just pin all the way around the outside. Now we allowed a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance all the way around the outside, so let's go and sew that together now. Now because we're going to be turning it wrong sides together in a minute, what I actually want to do is just remove half of the seam allowance now. And then I'm just going to snip into the circle a little bit more, just to ease up the tension even further. I'm just snipping up to, but not beyond, the stitch line. Okay, let's just turn the sleeve right side facing out. Let's go and press that in place so we've got a nice sharp edge to the end of our cuff. Great, let's grab our sleeve pattern piece next, and with the right sides together, just fold it in half and pin the side seam together. So using your standard seam allowance. Press that seam open. Okay, at this point I'm just going to turn my sleeve so the right side is facing out. Okay, so we've got our sleeve here and we've got the circle of our cuff at this point here. We want to be able to fit this into there or that into there. And because this is a perfect little circle, if I want to just add some little reference points. So I've folded the sleeve in half and the seam is down here. And I'm just going to add a tiny little notch. Don't forget we've only got a 5mm seam allowance, so we don't want to clip into that. And then what I'm going to do is line that notch up with my seam. I stitched seam at that point. And then I'm just going to snip into these bits here. All that does is it basically just quarters the sleeve for me nicely. And now I'm going to do exactly the same for this. So fold it over in half, open it out, line up those 2 notches, and then add 2 little notches there and there. Perfect. So it doesn't really matter which notch lines up with which because it's a full circle, but however you choose to do it, just start to pin in place and line up with 1 notch on the cuff, with 1 notch on the sleeve. Lovely. Okay, so once you've done that, just sew it in place using your 0.5 centimetre or 5mm seam allowance. Lovely. Now, okay, so at this point you can just overlock that if you want to. Obviously we're just sewing up a toile here, giving it a go to see what it kind of looks like. But for you at home, if you're doing this for your final version, you may want to have sewn it together using a different method to create a more couture finish. But in terms of just checking the fit of it, this is absolutely fine. So go away and press that and then try it on for size. So there we have it, a beautiful little flared cuff sleeve detail. Very cute, very romantic and very simple to draft. Thanks for joining me today. I've been Izzy at Minerva, as ever. Please feel free to pop your comments below the videos. We always love to hear from our maker community here at Minerva. Next week we'll be looking at further cuff details for our sleeve as we continue our little mini-series all about cuffs. So until then, I'll see you next time.